Welcome back, everyone. It's the Bourbon Judge. We are back at it. Hey, we're back at it today with this is actually somewhat new to the channel. This is Ben Holladay, so I'm actually excited about this one. So, Ben Holladay, a Missouri-based distillery. When you think about Ben Holladay as a whole, let's go back in history. So, Ben Holladay, the brand, the distillery, actually started back in like 1856. So back in like the mid 1800s. Kind of a little bit more info about Ben Holladay. So Ben Holladay actually moved from Kentucky to Missouri. Shocker. You know, Kentucky, Kentucky roots. Moved from Kentucky to Missouri. Wanted to, obviously be a successful businessman. So he started out and he actually created like a really huge, at that point in time in the mid 1800s, a stagecoach business that he then sold over to Wells Fargo. Many people, you think of Wells Fargo this day and age, Wells Fargo, obviously known as one of the best, like one of the largest banks in America. But back in the late 1800s, Wells Fargo was actually a transportation company, and stagecoach was like, that's how they moved a lot of different products around, was via stagecoach. So Ben Holladay actually sold a lot of his business and sold it over to Wells Fargo. So in the mid 1800s, he started a distillery along with his brother David, and they started it up. And of course, obviously, it changed ownership over the period over the next couple hundred years where it is now. The cool thing about the Ben Holladay, I guess, kind of story, if you will, is that the current ownership, it's truly the exact distillery is exactly where it was back in 1856. That is pretty cool. So that is really neat. So they're at the exact same location, footprint, whatever site where Ben Holladay Distillery was back in 1856. So that's pretty cool. The only other cool thing about, I think, like the whole Ben Holladay, like kind of whiskey experience, if you will, is the fact that everything, they do it all, right? So all of their grains come from Missouri. They distill it, they age it, everything happens in actual Missouri at their distillery. So I respect that by itself. So when you think of Ben Holladay, they make obviously a couple different, different expressions. They have the soft red winter wheat, the bottled bond. They also have like a ancient cave. So they experiment with like different, barrel finishes. So for that one, those are very hard to find, but the ancient cave, they are, experimental, different like finishes, if you will. But more important, what we're reviewing today is this bad boy here. This is the Rickhouse proof. So what I like about the Rickhouse proof, it's actually a small batch reserve at cask strength. So what they do, and I'll fly this in so you guys can see it, but they truly take their barrel strength whiskey, but they actually make it like a small batch. And essentially they're taking, so this, in this case, it's from Warehouse C. They're taking whiskey from various different floors. So I have whiskey from, floor 2 to floor 5, and they even include also the actual percentage of how much of the whiskey is coming from the various different floors. In my instance, mine comes in from a proof standpoint at 120.1 proof. So 120.1 proof. So you might be wondering, Judge, if I'm looking for Ben Holladay, where can I find it? Honestly, for me, being on the East Coast, I cannot find Ben Holladay on the East Coast. However, it's definitely available online. Case in point, Mrs. Judge found this this small batch cask strength, release, barrel proof release on actually Sealbox. So you can find it on Sealbox. I'm sure other websites, like maybe even like a Shared Pour or Bourbon Outfitters, probably carry it as well. But Mrs. Judge bought this for me via on Sealbox, and I think it's actually even still available on Sealbox. MSRP about $75. Now, granted, if you're in Missouri or even in Kentucky, you can probably find it a couple dollars less. But actually online, $75 is probably the MSRP for this Rickhouse proof small batch reserve. All right, let's go ahead and get into this. I've already poured a little bit. So age-wise, age 6 years. I do love the fact that, when you think about just Ben Holladay as a whole, their distillery, they truly are doing it all, right? There's no sourcing. There's no, they are truly distilling everything on site themselves. And I respect that, honestly, especially this day and age. To do it yourself, that's pretty special. All right, before I dive into this nose real quick, 3 quick easy favors. Number 1, hit the like button. Number 2, drop me a comment. Let me know what are your thoughts about Ben Holladay whiskey as a whole. And then number 3, please make sure also subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you get notification each and every time I release new content. Cool? All right. Cheers. Let's get into this nose. Whew. Oh, man. Oh boy. Age 6 years. Just double check. Yep, 120.1 proof. So age 6 years, 120.1 proof. This is nice on the nose. So I poured a good bit of this actually in my infinity bottle. Probably a little bit more than I actually wanted to. But I did pour a lot in my infinity bottle just so this can kind of open up for a few days. So this is my first sip with Ben Holladay, the barrel proof or Rickhouse proof small batch reserve. Oh man, the nose wise, really nice on the nose. Honestly, very nice. Oh, goodness gracious. It's interesting, like from a nose standpoint, you get a ton of like, which you do get, you know, sometimes in whiskey, you get a good bit of like cinnamon, but you don't get a ton of like caramel. It's more cinnamon, a smidge more like leather for it. So it's like a cinnamon, leather, almost means like a strawberry kind of a note, like a fruit note. So this is completely different than like a traditional nose. Wow. All right. I'm liking it though. I like the cinnamon meets the strawberry. That's nice. That's the like the main thing kind of coming out of the nose. Cinnamon and strawberry for it. And I mean a smidge of like caramel and obviously, you know, the oak from the barrel, but mostly cinnamon and strawberry. I like this on the nose. All right, $75. Is it worth it? All right, here we go. Cheers. Ooh. Oh, that's nice. Wow. That's interesting. Right, let me get another sip. Hold on one second. Cheers again. I did not pick that up in the nose. There is actually a good bit of like baking spices in like the mid palate to the end of the palate. It's definitely all of 120.1 proof. This is a unique experience. So the strawberry cinnamon notes were there in the nose, absolutely there in the palate as well. But what's very interesting about this is that also there's some baking spices in the palate. This is almost like a strawberry pie meets like a almost like a cinnamon type of a like cinnamon experience. This is very, very unique. I need another sip before I can give a judgment. I have to. Oh my gosh. Wow. I don't think there's anything on the market like this. It's almost like a Maker's Mark meets or hangs out with like a 1792, like they had a kid. It's completely different. Wow. That's very interesting. Yeah, because there's some apple notes in there as well. Apple, banana. This is completely different than any whiskey I've tasted in the last 6 months. Tons of cinnamon, tons of strawberry. There's some baking spices in there, some apples, but then also some bananas. It kind of reminds me, honestly, if Maker's Mark cask strength and 1792 full proof, if they had a kid, it would taste like this. Very unique, very different. So the question is, Judge, if I find this locally for $75 or online at Salebox for $75, should I buy this? Absolutely. This is quite delicious. I can't wait to share it with some of my friends. It's so unique and so different. I enjoy this, I mean, a ton, and I mean a ton. Hey friends, until the next time, peace, cheers, most important, salute. Take care.